Uh-oh, you've been stranded in the woods with no contact with other human civilization for the rest of your life. And the worst part is, you don't have any soap. Let's fix that. The very oldest form of soap making is the wood ash soap. This method has been around for thousands of years, dating back to ancient Sumeria, ancient Egypt, or ancient Mesopotamia, and it involves making soap out of wood ash. So let's talk about that. Now, obviously, the first step of making wood ash soap is obtaining a lot of wood ash. This can be done from a campfire, just collecting all of these cinders and stuff left at the bottom of the fire pit and kind of straining out the largest chunks of solid wood or charcoal that's still left in it. Once you've got a solid amount of relatively fine wood ash, you're going to add water to it and then boil it. You want to keep adding water until it's kind of like soup consistency, not too thick, not too thin, and easy enough to boil. You're going to stir it all together until all of the ash is fully incorporated, and then let it sit for a couple hours so the solution can separate out. What you're going to be left with is a bunch of solid junk at the bottom of your cooking vessel and a brown liquid floating on the top of that. That is lye. You have effectively just made lye water. Now, this lye is incredibly dangerous. It is highly caustic, and you do not, under any circumstances, want to be touching this with your bare skin. However, since in this scenario, we are stranded in the woods, so we don't have proper PPE. Next, what we're going to do is try to remove as much of the lye water as we can without really disturbing the sediment at the bottom of the cooking vessel, because that's junk, we don't really want it. So you're just going to scoop out the lye water very carefully and try to leave all of the garbage at the bottom, or if you happen to have a piece of cloth that can be used as a filter, you can also filter it through like that. However, again, do not touch the lye, because it can give you chemical burns, which in a scenario where antibiotics are probably not available unless you make your own penicillin, that is not a good thing to happen. So you have your lye water. Next, what you're going to need is some sort of animal fat. If you happen to have a pound of lard available, great, we can just melt that down and add it. But in a survival situation, you're probably going to need to render your own. So, next what you're going to do is go on a little hunting trip with whatever weapons and survival instruments you have at your disposal. And then after suffering through a devastating moral dilemma about the ethics of killing other beings for your own survival, you're going to have ideally a large animal to be able to render into fat. So, after skinning and butchering the deer or whatever you have and tanning the hide yourself in a solution made of a boiled bark and wood to get your very own tan hide, you're ready to render your lard. In a cooking vessel, you're going to put the fattiest bits of the meat, and then you're going to heat it up until it fully liquefies and get rid of all of the solid bits. You're going to have to obtain quite a lot of animal fat to be able to make a significant batch of soap, so this may take a couple hunting trips. Now, you're probably going to want to boil your lye water a little bit just to get it a bit more concentrated and a little stronger, so after boiling that, you're going to add it to your melted animal fat. Then, being very careful, again, not to touch the raw lye with your bare skin, you are going to mix the lye into the animal fat. On heat, you're going to stir it all together until it comes together and has a somewhat thick but not super hard consistency. You want it to kind of be able to coat the back of the spoon and leave drag marks when you drag your spoon, or perhaps large and somewhat flattened stick through it. Once it is somewhat thick, you're going to pour it into the soap mold that you magically thought to bring, but didn't bring any actual soap, and let it solidify. Or if you didn't have the foresight to bring an actual soap mold with you, a bowl or container or divot in a rock or something that has a relatively solid shape. And then you're going to let it sit for a long ass time. It has to be fully hardened, or hardened as much as it will be, and if there is a large amount of liquid left over, you don't want to use it because that is unincorporated lye and will probably give you chemical burns. But after the soap has fully cured, congratulations, you have made your own wood ash soap and are now free to wash your hands, wash your utensils, and live your best life out in the woods with no hope of seeing human civilization ever again.